So it's been a little bit since I've done a vlog. You know, after getting sick and stuff, I just haven't had a chance to. So I'm glad that I actually get to this week. I'm just going to be going through all the things I'm going to be doing this week. There will be some pottery, there will be some writing. If you're new to my channel, I am a potter, author, combo, and I'm currently working on my second book. My first book is out already, called Eyes of Pewter, and I'm currently working on the second book, which I plan on being a duology, but we will get into that, kind of the struggles I'm having with that. And also, I do pottery, make lots and lots of pottery, tend to base my pottery off of fairy tales, fantasy, you know, which is what my books are too. My books are fantasy. So, you know, if that's your vibe, if you like just hanging, chilling out, maybe you're another creative or a multi-passionate artist like me, and you can't just pick one lane, feel free to hang out. So first up is with my pottery. One group of pottery drying, I just threw them earlier last week, and so now we just gotta let them dry enough to be able to trim. So those are kind of just sitting and waiting, you know, we're just waiting for that one. And then I have another group of pottery that's actually being bisque fired right now. And so because there's nothing I can really do pottery wise, today is just going to be like a writing catch up day. So for those of you who might have missed it or not watched the cozy catch up, I actually was sick and struggling for about 2 weeks. Like, I hurt my wrist really bad, and then I ended up getting sick, and then I got a little better, and then I got sick again. So I have kind of a lot of catch up to do as far as like mostly pottery really, but I do actually have some more writing catch up that I want to get done too. In the cozy catch up vlog, I did mention that I have an editor, and then I was trying to book with them and stuff. So I've officially set over my deposits today. Those are all squared away, so I should have those spots saved, and the copy edits are going to be in August. So I really need to get my edits done, send it to beta readers, get their feedback, do edits for that. We just need to have all of that done by August. So August 1st is actually when I need to send my final draft to them. So that's kind of the plan, is we've just gotta, you know, get all that stuff done. It is more time than I gave myself last year, so I'm not like super stressed about it, but I do want to make sure I stay on top of it. I have noticed that I am very good about staying on top of drafting and writing and doing that when I need to. But the editing is a little bit harder for me, and it's more of a struggle, especially because, like I mentioned earlier, I originally had planned that the Eyes of Pewter, the Hollowed Chronicles was going to be a trilogy. That was the original plan. However, because of how things are working with my cover artist and stuff, it needs to be a duology. And otherwise I'm going to have to like recover things, and honestly I don't have the money for that right now. So we're just gonna have some make it work moments, right? But because this book was originally a trilogy, there were a lot of plot points that were going to be in book 2, and then a lot of plot points that are going to be in book 3. And I did take some of those plot points, and I am going to make like a spin-off with those. But I still need to kind of wrap up this kind of civil war basically in this book, and I am kind of struggling with it feeling too fast, it feeling too rushed. So one of the things I'm going to be doing is you know, getting a bunch of note cards, putting out all the scenes, and kind of just organizing them and figuring out, one, how to fix the plot holes that I do have. Again, some of that is because it has changed from my original plan. And then some of it is just like, you know, basic stuff. Basic, like, you know, you draft, it doesn't, you know, your first draft is never like 100%. Are the bones there? Are they good bones? Yes. You know, I'm really happy with how a lot of the book is, and a lot of the timeline and a lot of the plot is fine. It's just like the end, and the ending always is kind of hard for me in general with other books that I've written. And so, yeah, I just kind of want to do it justice. I don't want it to feel rushed. I already know this book is going to be longer than the first one. I've already warned people this book is going to be longer than the first one. So right now what I'm doing is like I said, I got my read-through done, and I got my edits done, like fast edits and stuff like that, and that's kind of where I saw all of the plot points that didn't quite work or the things that need to be changed. So I write my drafts in Scrivener, and basically what I did was I took a Scrivener document, turned it into a PDF, and sent it to my Kindle Scribe. And the cool thing about Kindle Scribe is it does have like a pen and stuff, and so basically I just read through it, write down on the Kindle, like on my PDF, all the notes I have, all the things that need to get changed, all the details. So that's what we're doing today, is we're going to be editing chapter 1. I'm going to try to just, I don't want to like push myself too hard, so I am going to try to do like a chapter a day if I can. I do realize that sometimes Pottery is going to take over, and I'm not going to be able to do like a chapter edit that day or something like that, so maybe some days we'll have like 2 chapters or something. But I figured if I try to be consistent in editing, you know, at least 1 chapter a day, I should get this done in a little over a month. And I will give myself some extra time. So I am actually kind of giving myself 2 months to get this done, and then be able to find beta readers, send it to beta readers, all that jazz. I do have at least 2 beta readers already lined up. But I do kind of want to give other people who were beta readers for the first book the chance to read the second book if they wanted to give me feedback and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of the plan. That's what we're going to be doing. So today is just going to be editing. It's going to be working on that first chapter, you know, going through, adding all the things that I think need to be added. It's very much developmental edits, very much fix the plot, fix the characters, like add the things. And I tend to be an underwriter. I tend to vomit the plot on the page, for the draft, for the first draft, and then I go back and I refine things and add things and stuff like that. So I do know that this book is probably going to be a lot more words than it is right now, which is sitting at about 80,000 right now. So I'm kind of guessing probably 90, maybe 100,000 words for this book. And yeah, the editor does know that it's not, the word count I have right now is not accurate. But yeah, anyways, that's what we have planned for today. I'm going to do that, maybe make the note cards, and then I do want to try to see if I can fit in my serial story. So over on my Patreon, I have a serial story called Melark the Dragon, and it's mostly from his perspective. I have added another perspective recently, but I am trying to, 1, make sure I have episodes at least once a month for my patrons on that story, so I do need to keep up with that. And then I'm also rewriting season 1, and my hope is to put season 1 and season 2 into a book. Now, originally when I talked about this, I talked about having it come out early 2027. I have now realized I do not have the funds to have it come out that soon, especially with how much, like, editors just cost a pretty decent chunk of change, and you know, I have to pay my cover artist and things like that. So and then I do need to make sure I have money for Pottery, right? And this is kind of one of the problems of, I guess, of being a multi-passionate artist, is that I can't just use all the funds, all the business funds I have for like one, you know. I have to kind of think about the fact that I need to have money for both. And so going through what I've got and what I'm likely to make this year and kind of making estimates and stuff, I don't think I'm going to be able to get 2 books out in 2027. So this book will either be the end of 2026 or the beginning of 2027, but Melark is probably going to have to be a little later than that, just because, you know, I've got to be able to pay editors and things like that. So that's kind of a little bit of a, I mean, I was a little frustrated. Like, I really want both books to come out. I think I probably could get both books done, but yeah, sometimes you just kind of have to, reality check, right? So that's kind of where we're at. That's what I'm going to be doing today, and let's get started. Alright, so how did it go? So I was able to get through the first chapter. The first chapter was pretty short. I did actually add quite a bit to it, so I made it a little longer. I think I added like another 100 some odd words to it. And just kind of fixed like the sentence structures and stuff, and kind of added more of that like developmental stuff. It was a lot of kind of internal monologue for a particular character, a POV I've never done before. And so, yeah, I did want to add more to it than I'd already had and stuff. So I did manage to do that. I looked through my Melark stuff, and realized that I need to figure out how to add another POV, because in season 2 I do have 2 POVs, and so I don't want it to seem too awkward, especially if I'm putting both seasons together in one book, to have only one POV for like the first season or part 1, and then suddenly have like 2 POVs in the second half of the book, right? So I am going to go through and figure out where I can add the other POV for that particular thing. And then I did start on doing the note cards, trying to like pick colors. The thing is I don't have enough note cards. So I must have used a bunch and then forgot that I'd used a bunch, and so yeah, I don't have enough. So I had to order some more note cards so that I have enough for each of the POVs. So each of the POVs I'm going to make a certain color. So I'm going to have like, Trenton's going to be a color, Kalan's going to be a color, and then the 2 other perspectives are going to be colors as well. So I can kind of keep track of where each of them in the story, kind of make sure that each of them are getting their moment to shine in the right parts. Because one of the things I realized going through the read through and doing like the fast edits and stuff for the book is that one of the POVs just doesn't get enough like screen time, doesn't get enough words on the page in the right places. So yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. I have them coming in on Wednesday, I think. I just ordered some online. So I have them coming in on Wednesday. So Wednesday, hopefully I'll get a little bit of time. I can kind of make these up and kind of lay them all out and figure out, all the scenes, make sure that each of them gets their moment to shine, but then also that the plot makes sense and stuff, and kind of figure out how to rework that. So yeah, that's kind of the plan. That's what I got done today. Not too bad. A lot of today, it was kind of just figuring out what I needed to do, which is always a little frustrating, because it's like, I want to do the thing. I want the thing to progress. I want to get further, I did get a chapter edited, and that was kind of a goal, so mission accomplished there. But I also I wanted to work on Melark, but I was like, I'm going to have to figure out where to stick these POVs, right? I wanted to kind of figure out the plot stuff with the note cards, but I ran out of note cards. And sometimes that just kind of happens. So that's where we're at for, today. And yeah, we're just gonna keep trying to plug along, getting the edits that I can get done. Like I said, a lot of the plot stuff is going to be towards the end of the book, so I will have a little bit of time to be able to just do the edits that I do know I can do without needing the note cards, because it will take a couple of days for me to get them. But yeah, that's kind of the plan. That's what I got done today, and I will see you later on. Hi everybody. So it's Tuesday. I'm looking a little worse for wear. I did a big kintsugi project. So I'm learning how to do kintsugi, and it's a long process and it's several steps worth of a process. And if you're curious about it, I do have it over on my Patreon for any paid tier. Can look at like the whole process, and I take pictures and things of like all the different steps and what I'm doing and what the piece looks like. So, it took me about 3 hours to do this particular step of the kintsugi. The good thing about it though is that it's like the last like main step before I get to add the gold. So the next, after it dries, because it has to dry for a couple weeks in between each of the steps. So after it dries, then we're gonna be doing the gold. I'm gonna be adding the gold and I'll be done with the project, which is awesome because I've been doing this project for several months. I'm glad that I got to learn it. It was really fun to be able to learn the process and stuff, and like how to do it traditionally. I actually have like a kintsugi kit that I got from like Japanese kintsugi artists. They have like a video and stuff that you can watch to kind of show you the whole process, things like that. So I am like doing it from like an actual like people who teach it for a living, right? So it was a really cool experience to be able to do that. I will say I don't think I enjoy the process very much. I think part of it is because I'm very tactile, and you have to wear gloves and stuff because generally people are really allergic to the ingredients and stuff for putting the pottery together. And I have tiny hands, so it's hard to find gloves that fit, and so like I feel like my fine motor skills are lacking in doing the kintsugi, which you kind of need better like fine motor skills for. Like it wasn't like a bad experience, but like I don't think it's my favorite pottery process to do. But anyways, like I said, if you're curious, it's over on my Patreon. But anyways, yeah, it took me like 3 hours this morning to do that. I was expecting it to take like 2 hours. It usually takes me a while, but I forgot that like the sanding and this part of the process just takes longer. So yeah, anyways, that's what I did this morning. And so now we're just going to get into, again, trying to do a chapter a day of edits. So I'm going to get to chapter, like, it's either chapter 1 or chapter 2. I'm not sure if the chapter I edited first yesterday is like going to be the prologue or not. I don't know. Because like I just don't want people to get confused because it is Trenton's book. Like the focus is him, but the first chapter is not from his perspective. So I thought about maybe making it a prologue just because, one, people could skip it and they won't miss a ton, but like if they bother reading it, I don't know. Anyways, so I'm going to do the next chapter, which is the first chapter from Trenton's perspective. And yeah, that's what I'm going to be editing today. For the other story that I'm writing, the serial that's on my Patreon, like I talked about, I was going to be in the process of rewriting it and trying to stay ahead of, the episodes that I'm releasing on my Patreon. And so I did actually figure out, the other POV. Like I figured out where I want those POVs to be in the first season and how I want to go about like rewriting that particular part. So I might actually get to that as well. I might like write the first POV that I'm going to be adding to the first season. So I'm going to try that, and then of course just editing the next book 2, editing the first chapter. So yeah, that's kind of just what we're going to be doing today. I might put some clips of the kintsugi in here. I don't know. But yeah, that's what today looks like. Hello. So, update. I ended up getting first chapter done, and then I also did a little bit of reformatting, and kind of had everything compiled and put into Word, because I think Word is going to be a little easier for me to like see the bigger picture as far as like formatting and like changing things around, because there's a lot of like different parts, different scenes and things that don't really have like a set chapter. Like I do write chronologically. My brain just works that way, and it's really hard for me to not write chronologically. But as far as like, oh, this is the end of chapter 1, or this is the end of chapter 2, or things like that usually kind of changes quite a bit, because sometimes I end up making a chapter way too long, or it's too different from the previous like scene or something like that, so it needs to be its own chapter. Usually how I break it up generally is when I switch POVs, that's a new chapter. But there are times when it needs to be broken up more than that. So yeah, so anyways, I put it into Word, kind of broke up the chapters a little bit. I made the first perspective the prologue, then then the book is starting off, like the first chapter is starting off with Tren's perspective. But then there was another scene after the first one that I was like, it really doesn't fit. It's a completely different location. It's completely different, so it just needs to be its own chapter. So I went ahead and did that too. So I got that done. And then I just did a little bit of writing on my serial story, Melark, rewriting the first season. So I was able to I didn't finish the scene, but I got a little bit into writing Laura's perspective. So yeah, so it's actually adding words to the book, which is good, because I think the first season is like super, super short. So yeah, the whole book in general, like the first season is like 12,000 words. So yeah, so I'm definitely going to be going in and adding quite a bit more to it. There is planning, but it's very like big picture, like plot this, then this, then this, then this happens. And so like all the formatting, the little details and like things like that don't happen as much because you just don't have the time. Because you're just trying to get out the next episode. So yeah, so a lot of the stuff that I'm going back and doing is kind of like, buffing it out, making it more of a real world, magic, explaining things a little better, adding another POV, stuff like that. I'm not sure exactly how much of the process like I want to go into with Melark, because it really is just kind of a fun side story that I'm writing. It's not like one of my main novels or like a series that I'm like trying to promote and stuff. It's just gonna be kind of like a one-off, right? So, and kind of a way to promote my Patreon, because I do use a lot of the funds on my Patreon to fund the books, so covers and things like that. So yeah, I don't know. I'm still kind of iffy on that, but I'm still going to be working on it, still going to be editing it, and I did get that part done today. So that's about it. That's what I got done. My brain is kind of just turning into mush right now. I think, doing all the kintsugi with like, it's very technical and you have to be very careful and very thorough with how you do it. And it just takes more brain power, So then trying to use the brain power and the creativity for the book stuff is also kind of hard. And I mean, I didn't get nothing done in my books. I did get what I planned. Like, I planned on working on Melark. I planned on getting a chapter edited. And I did, so it is a win. Yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Hello everybody. So we've got the kiln loaded up. Like you saw, I had them all glazed, got them out of the bisque fire, got them all glazed. And now we're going to run a glaze fire for those pieces that I have in here. It's a combination of some pieces that need to go to the stores I'm in and kind of the start of me doing the throwback collection, the fairy tale throwback collection. So I'm interested to see how they turn out. Hopefully they'll turn out the way that, I'm hoping for. But yeah, so we're going to be running this. It's going to be running all day. I have gotten questions sometimes about like how long exactly it takes to run the big kiln. So generally, it usually takes about 19 to 20 hours to run this big kiln. And some of that is because I like to do slow firings. I use a lot of clear glaze, and the clear glaze I use in particular does better if the firings are a little slower. So I generally do slow bisque fires and slow glaze fires. Alternatively, I don't really do holds or anything like that on either one, whether it's bisque or glaze. I don't do a hold on my kiln. I just found out that giving it a little bit longer to warm up and stuff like that, usually my clears turn out better. And I'm not sure if it's because it's generally really cold here, so it just takes a while for the kiln to heat up, and I don't like to rush that process. It also kind of is easier and nicer on your elements, especially when you live in cold temperatures and stuff. It kind of lets the kiln warm up to a reasonable temperature before it starts doing the whole process. So that's part of the reason why I do a lot of preheats as well, just to kind of, help with the longevity of the kiln and the elements and stuff, but then also my glazes, for whatever reason, just turn out better when I slow fire them. So yeah, this is probably going to be firing for a good 19-20 hours. And then it usually takes a day for it to cool down as well. I usually try to start it in the morning so I can kind of keep an eye on it. Today is a great day because I have D&D tonight, so Dungeons and Dragons, a bunch of friends coming over and stuff, so I'm gonna be up late anyways, so I can keep an eye on the kiln and make sure it fires to what it needs to fire to and all that jazz. So yeah, that's what we're doing today. Unfortunately, the results will not be in this video, but you'll get to see them in the next one. And I think that's it. I think I'm gonna cut off the video here, and I want to thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next vlog next week. Bye.